Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the Nike Kobe 9 Elites. Now, as you can see, it comes in a brand new Kobe box. It's got a white base with this kind of light gray pattern throughout. As far as other details on the box are concerned, you're going to find some metallic silver branding as far as Nike swooshes and Kobe signatures are concerned, but that's not really too big of a thing. Nobody's here for the box, at least I don't think. We'll take a closer look at the label. You can see it's labeled as the Kobe 9 Elite. The pair I have here is a size 9.5 US. The colorway is dark base gray, black, and what I assume is Midnight Fog. There is no retail sticker on there. This is a Canadian pair. They don't put them on the Canadian pairs for whatever reason. But in the US, these guys retail for $225. So on the pricey side. And as far as the paper is concerned, it's standard tissue paper with kind of this metallic gold Kobe signature throughout. They're a little bit difficult to get out of the box, so I'll do that off the camera, and we'll get right into the video. Alright, here's a look at the shoes themselves, and as I'm sure some of you already know, this is the detail colorway of the Kobe 9 Elites, as it says right there on the back of the tongue. Now, this is obviously an extremely unique release from Nike. It's been pretty difficult to come by. They've been selling online, they've been selling in store, pretty much everywhere in the States, but even so, they've been pretty difficult to get a hold of. In Canada, they haven't really released anywhere, at least that I've seen, but actually I walked in at my local Foot Locker, and for whatever reason they had them. They weren't supposed to get them from what the guy told me. I was surprised to see them, but I picked them up anyways. They had them in my size. And luckily they had the detail colorway. It's the only ones they had, but this was my personal favorite of the colorways that they've released so far in the Kobe 9 Elites. It's simple, but at the same time there is so much going on with the shoe. I just don't think it needs to be bright blue and bright yellow and bright purple to stand out. It stands out as it is. It's a pretty unique looking sneaker. Now, it's one of those shoes that I really wanted to get. One, because I really like the implementation of Flyknit. I think that's a very cool material that we're going to see a lot more of from Nike in the near future. I think that a lot of their high-end models will be featuring Flyknit. The other reason why I picked these up is carbon fiber. I love anything with carbon fiber. I think it's the coolest material. Not necessarily from a performance standpoint, because most of the time the way Nike implements carbon fiber is in a way that isn't necessarily super important. Like, this could be replaced by plastic, as we've seen on the Kobe 9 lows, and it really doesn't make too much of a difference in terms of how the shoe is going to feel and perform. But nonetheless, I think exposed carbon fiber just looks very cool. And the third reason why I wanted to pick these up is I just wanted to wear them. I wanted to try them on. This high collar design is very, very interesting to me. A little bit goofy looking, I must admit, but I think that with the whole Flyknit design, the shoe itself just looks very unique, and it's something that just myself being kind of a sneaker enthusiast, a shoe enthusiast, a product tester, if you will, it's something that I had to get my hands on just to get a closer look at. But as far as the outside of the shoe and the visuals of it, it's pretty detailed, as the name would suggest. You have your Flyknit design. You can see the Flyknit pattern is pretty varied on this shoe. There's really no consistent pattern. Obviously, every pair is going to have the same pattern, but you can see it's varied up pretty good. Different colors, different knits, different patterns going throughout the shoe. Very, very cool. Obviously, the outside is a different color from the inside. The inside's more of a dark gray, whereas the outside is mainly more of like a light wolf gray with some white in there. Kind of is a very cool look with that Flyknit design, and it's a much harder Flyknit than what you're going to find from Nike's running models. It doesn't have that sock-like softness about it. It's there more so for looks. It's still gonna, it's kind of knitted so tightly that it is going to provide some kind of lateral support, but there is actually like a thin polyurethane coat or a fused layer on the inside. So like I said, it doesn't have that same sock-like softness like what you're going to find from the Flyknit uppers on their running models. On the Nike swoosh here, you can see that it has this kind of, I don't even know what kind of finish that would be. I guess it's kind of a crackled finish. And it's fused right on there. It's a little bit thick too. It's really, really cool in person. A detail that you can't really see online, but in person, it's one of the first things that you'll notice about it. You got a black swoosh on the outside and a white swoosh on the inside, and that white swoosh has that same kind of crackled finish about it. Even the laces themselves are detailed in that it's not a solid gray lace. It actually has little speckles of white and little speckles of dark gray in there. Not sure if that's going to show up on camera, but very, very cool. And then moving to the ankle area, you're going to have what I guess kind of looks like a stone or marble type material. And from a distance, I think it looks a lot cooler. Up close in person, it can look a little bit cheap to me. And the one part of the shoe that I think is most disappointing is the tongue. To me, it's a lot bulkier and chunkier than it needed to be. But again, that's Nike's call, not necessarily mine. I guess everyone has their own opinions as far as how these look. But I think it's a very cool material that they've implemented there, and it works well with the color scheme that they have going on right here. You got your Kobe signature in black, as well as Kobe's logo right there on the tongue, with kind of more of a shiny finish. And then you have more exposed Flyknit. The Flyknit back here is more of a solid gray. There are some hints of light gray as well. You have your 9 stitches going across the back, which I think is a very, very cool touch. And you can see it says KB 9th, obviously, letting you know that this is Kobe Bryant's 9th signature model, the elite model, I guess. Kind of has this cool little circle area, letting you know that that is where your ankle bone would be, I guess. Again, it's just such a unique shoe. It really doesn't compare to anything else out there. Another thing I didn't kind of skipped over really quickly is the actual Flywire cables. You can see that they are black on the outside, whereas on the inside they're white. So again, you have that variation from the inside of the shoe, the lateral side, and the medial side. And then the tongue itself is pretty much a solid gray open mesh with like a perforated foam kind of backing it, so it does have some breathability to it. And that's pretty much it as far as the details on the upper is concerned. Moving on to the midsole, it really isn't a midsole, it's there more so for looks as well as support. This black area kind of has this matte finish about it, and it isn't a foam, it's more of like a hard rubber plastic material. Very, very cool, and it's actually going to be nice and durable. It's not going to show much wear for the most part. If you are going to be wearing these casually or whatever you're going to be using them for, this material is going to be pretty tough. You got one more Kobe signature right there. And then, of course, it's just black right there. The rest of the midsole is pretty much just a lip of the rubber, so it isn't actually a midsole, if you will. And then, of course, you have these little pieces of carbon fiber that stick out. A carbon fiber heel counter that is shaped very similarly to the Mercurial Vapor 4 SL models. For those of you guys that are soccer fans, can remember back then when they had the Mercurial Vapor 4 SLs with that kind of grasshopper eye heel counter at the back. Something I really like about this particular shoe. And then as far as the outsole is concerned, you can see that it's not a solid gray. It's kind of got a combination of all the color schemes you're going to find on the shoe, kind of almost trying to match or mimic this stone-like pattern. And again, it's kind of a cool little touch that you don't really notice until you see the shoes in person. And I like the pattern they put on here. I think visually it's very cool. I guess it performs pretty well too, but it's a very pliable rubber, and it's got this kind of foot mapping pattern on the bottom. Again, cool pattern, like to see that kind of thing. And then of course you have your Kobe logo in like a foam material, exposed foam right here in the heel. As far as other elements of the shoe are concerned, you are on the inside, actually let me remove it really quickly, are going to find the Lunarlon carrier, the Lunarlon insole, I guess. This is really what's going to provide all the cushioning for the shoe. One second, there's padding in here and it's giving me a hard time. Okay, I got it. Sorry about that. But anyways, here is the Lunarlon cushioning that you're going to get from the shoe. And it's actually pretty thin, much thinner than you would think it would be. It's kind of deceiving from a side angle just because it lips up really far, as you guys can see. But really you're only getting, I would say, from here to here as far as foam is concerned. So it's pretty thin. There's not a lot of cushioning. And that's the one thing that I can say about how this shoe feels on feet. It's not nearly as bulky as it looks. I think that really what makes this shoe kind of odd looking is the height between here and here. It just looks very, very tall in comparison to most shoes, especially most basketball shoes. And because of that, I think people have this false impression of how the shoe's going to feel. I certainly did, but when I put it on my feet, I was actually pretty surprised by how snug and how natural it actually felt. It's also very, very low to the ground. So that is your cushioning system. They added some flex grooves. It's kind of similar to what you're going to find from the Kobe 8s. It has this added texturing here, which is something that I really like. No liner on top, just straight foam, similar to what Under Armour does with a lot of their footwear. And it feels actually, like I said, very, very comfortable. It's just much thinner than I was honestly anticipating from a shoe that appears to be very bulky and very supportive. Now, as far as this high ankle collar area is concerned, you're going to have some hard plastic going around here. Not hard plastic, but there's some kind of rigidity to it, whereas this top area is pretty much pliable. So there's really no restrictiveness to it when you have them on. And as far as that height is concerned, let me just quickly do a side-by-side. This is a LeBron 11. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this shoe in person and are familiar with how high it is. and there's the Kobe 9 Elite. So you can see that they are significantly higher. There's my hand, just so you guys can see. Significantly higher than the LeBrons, but honestly feel about the same in terms of overall support and how they're cut. The actual cut of this shoe is pretty much right about there, pretty much level to where you're going to find the LeBrons. So again, the height may kind of seem deceiving. It may seem like it's going to add a lot of extra bulk, but for the most part, it's really not that high of a shoe. It just has the appearance of a very, very high, very supportive shoe. So that's pretty much it as far as all the tech specs and the details that you should know about the Kobe 9 Elites. We'll move on next to a quick on feet so you can get a better idea as to how these shoes look. Alright, here's a look at the Kobe 9 Elites on feet with a pair of shorts. And obviously the high cut of the sneaker is more geared towards performance as opposed to casual wear. But if you are looking for something that's very different, the high cut definitely isn't for everybody. But if it's your thing, you're probably going to like the look of the Kobe 9 Elites. Now it's kind of tough to say how you would actually wear them unlaced or laced up. I think they look kind of decent either way. Again, the one thing I'm not a huge fan of with this shoe is the bulky collar. I wish they would have made the collar more of a Flyknit material just to match the rest of the shoe. Would have been less bulky and to me would have looked a little bit better as well. But nonetheless, I think it's just a cool looking shoe. Flyknit to me is always a really great looking type of material on an upper. And when you have a simple colorway like this one, with just the grays, the blacks, and the whites. Again, I just think it's a really clean looking shoe. It's still going to stand out because of its unusual cut. But for the most part, definitely a very wearable shoe as far as summertime conditions are concerned when you're wearing shorts. As far as the overall fit of the shoe, it's a little bit wider than I was honestly expecting. That's all the way through the midfoot, forefoot, and toe box area. So for the most part, I wouldn't say that you have to go up a size in order to get the proper fit if you do have a wider foot. I'm wearing my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and length seems to be pretty much perfect. So for the most part, these run true to size and will fit pretty much all foot types. Alright, here's a look at the Kobe 9 Elites with a pair of pants. And again, because of the high cut of the sneaker, it's kind of up to you as to how you want to wear them. You can kind of tuck them in and have the entire high collar showing like I do on my right foot, or you can just kind of tuck your pants over top of that ankle area and it looks pretty normal for the most part. Just a very good looking shoe. Again, I think it is definitely wearable casually, even though the design is fairly unusual. But for the most part, it's really up to you and personal preference as to whether or not you're actually going to pick up a pair of these because of that unusual design and the very high cut of the shoe itself. So that's pretty much it as far as how they look on feet, and I'll leave you to my final thoughts. Alright guys, this is for my review of the Kobe 9 Elite. This is one of those shoes kind of similar to the Nike LeBron 11, where Nike kind of threw all of their latest and greatest tech into one single model. And really what's interesting about this shoe is not so much this particular shoe, but more so how this model is going to influence future basketball models from Nike, whether it be the next Kobe model or even future team models. Is this high cut design something that's going to stick around, or is it something that's going to get scrapped altogether after this shoe is done and washed up? Or how is the Flyknit upper on this shoe going to evolve as far as basketball models are concerned? I have to imagine that we're going to see Flyknit on the next Kobe. We might even see Flyknit on future models from other Nike signatures, or again, even other team models from Nike, hopefully implemented in a more true Flyknit fashion, not necessarily something like this, where yeah, it does have that Flyknit look, but doesn't necessarily have that Flyknit feel. So a very, very interesting shoe overall. It has a lot going for it, and in terms of overall comfort and styling, it definitely does stand out from the crowd, at least in my opinion. If you're able to get your hands on a pair, it's definitely worth picking up. The quality and detail on the shoe is pretty incredible. Unfortunately, they're kind of hard to come by. They sell out pretty much in seconds every time they're released. You can take your chances on eBay, but you're most likely going to pay over retail on an already fairly expensive shoe, so I don't necessarily recommend doing that. If you guys have any questions, be sure to leave those down below in the comments. I'm always interested in hearing what you guys have to say, what your opinions are. And even if you have any suggestions for other shoes you'd like to see me bring in, leave those down below in the comments as well. It helps me to find shoes that I actually really like but weren't necessarily on my radar. If you enjoyed today's video as well, be sure to support it with a like. And if you guys want to see some high quality images of this shoe just to get a better idea as to how it does actually look in person and to see some of the close-up details, be sure to check out the review page on my website, linked down below in the description of this video. Other than that though guys, subscribe if you haven't already for more sneaker reviews. You can find all of my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always,